In this alternate timeline, the roles were reversed, and the fate of the galaxy was forever altered. In the original story, we all knew that in the midst of the Clone Wars, Grandmaster Yoda took it upon himself to travel to the planet of Kashyyyk to aid the Wookiees in their fight against the CIS. Meanwhile, Master Mace Windu was left on Coruscant, where he had eventually learned from Anakin Skywalker that Palpatine was the Sith Lord they had been searching for. But in this alternate timeline, it was Mace Windu who journeyed to defend the Wookiees, leaving Grandmaster Yoda on Coruscant. It was here where Yoda would learn from Anakin Skywalker the shocking news about Palpatine's true identity. The outcome of this change would alter the fate of the galaxy for generations to come. How would Yoda, known for his wisdom and powerful Force abilities, react to this information? Would he be able to defeat Palpatine and restore peace to the Republic, or would he be faced with new challenges that he couldn't overcome? The outcome of this alternate timeline would change the fate of the galaxy forever. Anakin Skywalker, breathing heavily, burst into the chambers of Grandmaster Yoda. "Master Yoda, I must speak with you," he said urgently. Yoda was in the middle of meditating, opened his eyes and looked at Anakin with a calm expression. "What is it, young Skywalker?" Yoda asked, sensing the urgency in Anakin's voice. "I have just learned a terrible truth, Master Yoda. Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord we have been searching for," Anakin said, still trying to catch his breath. Yoda's eyes narrowed and he stood up. His walking stick clicked on the stone floor. "Disturbing this is," Yoda said, his voice steady. "Your bravery, unnoticed, it is not." But Yoda could sense the conflict within Anakin. He could feel the young Jedi's hesitation and unease. He would not ignore this, and instead, he asked Anakin what was bothering him. "Hesitant, you are." Anakin was silent for a moment, looking down at the ground. He then looked up to Yoda with a forced smile. "I'm fine, Master Yoda. Just a little overwhelmed by the news." Anakin lied, trying to hide his true thoughts. However, Anakin was truly worried about Palpatine having the information that could save his wife from death. The burden of his knowledge weighed heavily on him, and he felt like he was running out of time. He wondered if the dark side truly held the answers he needed. Yoda nodded, his eyes scrutinizing Anakin. "Deceit and destruction, the path of the dark side is. Solutions promised, never truly offered." Anakin nodded, his eyes downcast. "I know, Master Yoda." "Trust in the Force, you must," Yoda said, his voice firm. "The future uncertain it is. In the present we are. Allow the Force to guide you." Some time would pass. Yoda sat quietly in his chambers, deep in thought. The war was raging on and the galaxy was in turmoil. But there was something even more pressing on Yoda's mind. The Dark Lord of the Sith, Palpatine, was plotting something sinister, and Yoda had to act fast. Most of the powerful Jedi were spread thin, fighting on different fronts, leaving only a few at the Jedi Temple. Despite this, Yoda knew he couldn't wait for reinforcements. He had to confront Palpatine, and he needed someone to stand by his side. After much contemplation, he decided to put his trust in Anakin Skywalker. Anakin was a conflicted Jedi, torn between his loyalty to the Order and his love for Padme Amidala. But Yoda saw the good in Anakin. Yoda summoned Anakin to his chambers and informed him of his plan. He wanted Anakin to join him in confronting Palpatine, along with Kit Fisto and Saesee Tiin. Anakin was overjoyed at Yoda's decision to trust him. He felt like the Jedi Order had lost faith in him, and this gesture from Yoda made him feel appreciated and valued. As Anakin, Yoda, Kit Fisto, and Saesee Tiin approached the Chancellor's office, Anakin's mind was in turmoil. He remembered the moment he found out that Palpatine was the Sith Lord. The shock and betrayal he felt was still fresh in his mind. Palpatine was not only a ruthless Sith Lord, but he may also be the only person who had the knowledge to save Padme from death. The thought of losing her was unbearable, and Anakin was torn between his loyalty to the Jedi Order and his love for Padme. But as they approached the door to the Chancellor's office, Anakin's thoughts shifted back to Padme. He couldn't shake the feeling that Palpatine had held the key to saving her. He knew that the Jedi Order wouldn't approve, but he couldn't help but feel that he needed to do anything to save her. As Yoda and the others prepared to enter the room, Anakin hung back for a moment. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He felt the weight of his choices heavy on his shoulders. he knew that he had to choose, and the consequences of his decision would change his life forever. As the group entered the office, Palpatine was pleased to see Anakin among them. However, not a word was said between them, as Yoda stepped forward to arrest the Sith Lord. "Under arrest you are, Chancellor," Yoda declared, his voice firm and steady. Palpatine's face contorted into a sneer as he responded, "You fool. Do you really think you can stop me?" With a roar, Palpatine lunged towards the Jedi, unleashing a force scream that sent shockwaves through the room. The scream impaired Saesee Tiin, causing Palpatine to strike him down instantly. With one less opponent to worry about, Palpatine set his focus on Kit Fisto, but Yoda could see Palpatine's plans. He was attempting to pick off the weak first, but Yoda was ready for him. With lightning fast reflexes, Yoda jumped between Kit Fisto and Palpatine, engaging the Sith Lord in combat. Anakin, on the other hand, hung back in the background. He was not mentally prepared for the situation and was filled with conflicting emotions. He had not expected the ferocity of Palpatine's attack and was still struggling to make sense of what was happening. He felt pulled in different directions, unsure of what to do. As the battle raged on, Anakin watched from the sidelines, his thoughts a jumbled mess. He knew he needed the help, but his fear and confusion held him back. He felt like he was losing control, and he didn't know how to regain it. He watched as Yoda and Palpatine fought, their lightsabers clashing in a whirlwind of light and sound. In that moment, Anakin realized that he had a choice to make. He could continue to hold back, allowing fear to control him, or he could step forward and do what needed to be done, steeling himself for the battle to come, and step forward to join the fight. As the battle continued, Kit Fisto was disarmed and flung out the window of the tall building, sending him to his death. Meanwhile, Anakin and Yoda continued to fight Palpatine with all their might. They were determined to put an end to the Sith Lord's reign of terror once and for all. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Anakin and Yoda were able to defeat Palpatine. The Sith Lord laid on the ground, his body writhing in pain. As he looked up to Anakin, he said, "I told you it would come to this. The Jedi are taking over." Yoda could sense Anakin's confliction, and he intervened, saying, "Our judgment, clouded by the dark side, no longer, Skywalker. Your fate, by you, must be chosen." Palpatine looked at Anakin, his eyes filled with cunning. "If I fall, so does the knowledge to save Padme." Suddenly, it clicked in Yoda's head. Palpatine has been able to control Anakin all along because of a secret love. Yoda spoke, his voice filled with wisdom. "Wrong we were. Love, compassion, qualities of a Jedi." Anakin was filled with a newfound clarity as he realized the truth of Yoda's words. He knew what he had to do, and he prepared himself for the task ahead. With the help of Yoda, he was finally able to reclaim control of his fate. As Palpatine saw that his manipulation had failed on Anakin, he let out a wicked laugh. "So be it, Jedi," he spat, unleashing a wave of force lightning so strong that only Yoda could put up a defense. The wave sent Anakin flying backwards, leaving him unconscious. Yoda and Palpatine were now in the midst of another intense battle, one-on-one. Their lightsabers clashed in a symphony of sparks, each strike echoing through the room. Palpatine was a master of the dark side, but Yoda was a seasoned warrior, and he was not about to let the Sith Lord win. The two clashed, their lightsabers moving at lightning speed as they sought to gain the upper hand. They moved with fluid grace, their bodies twisting and turning as they blocked and parried each other's strikes. Yoda was fast and nimble, his years of experience serving him well as he fought the Sith Lord. As the fight continued, Anakin began to stir. His eyes opened, seeing only a blur of green and red as the two combatants clashed. Suddenly, there was only red, with the Chancellor standing above him. Anakin tried to get up, but he was too weak. He could feel the dark side pulsing through the room. Palpatine would order the clones to come into the room to apprehend Anakin as he prepared to deliver his final strike to the Jedi. Chancellor Palpatine stood before the Galactic Senate, his piercing yellow eyes scanning the room as he called for an emergency meeting. The senators were murmuring amongst themselves, wondering why the Chancellor had summoned them at such short notice. As they quieted down, Palpatine began to speak. "Senators, I have called you here today to inform you of a grave matter. An attempt on my life was made, and the perpetrator of this act can only be none other than the Jedi Order. Gasps of shock echoed through the Senate chambers as the senators sat stunned. Many of them had never considered the possibility of the Jedi turning against the Emperor. For too long, the Republic has relied on the Jedi Order, giving them far too much power and independence. They act as they please, without the regard of law or wishes of the Senate. Their actions have destabilized the Republic and put us all at risk. Palpatine's voice was calm, yet menacing, and the senators could feel the power and authority behind his words. But I have a solution. To save the Republic and bring stability once more, the Jedi Order must cease to exist. They must answer to the Senate and be held accountable for their actions. I propose the creation of the First Galactic Empire, with me as its leader. Together, we can restore order to the galaxy and protect the Republic from those who would seek to destroy it. The senators were silent, considering the Emperor's proposal. Some of them nodded in agreement, while others remained skeptical. But as Palpatine continued to speak, his words swayed the crowd, and they began to see the wisdom in his plan. The Jedi have failed us. They have become a threat to the stability of the Republic, and if we do not act now, we will all suffer the consequences. The time has come to put aside our differences and work together for the good of the galaxy. And with that, Palpatine declared the creation of the First Galactic Empire. With the Senate's approval, the Jedi Order was forever changed. The once proud guardians of peace and justice were now seen as a threat to the stability of the galaxy, and their power was forever diminished. The Republic had fallen, and the Empire had risen to take its place. As the Senate meeting concluded, Palpatine's mind was already turning to his next move. He knew that he had to act fast if he was to succeed in eliminating the Jedi. The Jedi were still unaware of what was happening, as the only ones who truly knew of Palpatine's true nature were now dead or imprisoned. With a sly smile, Palpatine ordered the activation of Order 66, the secret contingency plan that would cause the clones across the galaxy to turn against their Jedi generals. The clones, programmed to follow the commands of the Supreme Chancellor without question, carried out the order without hesitation. Palpatine himself led the charge on the Jedi Temple, accompanied by a legion of clone troopers. The Jedi were caught off guard, caught between the barrage of blaster fire and the relentless advance of the clones. But Palpatine was relentless, his powers growing stronger with each passing moment, as he effortlessly killed any Jedi that stood in his path. As the smoke cleared, the last of the Jedi lay dead. Palpatine stood amidst of the rubble of the once great temple. A wave of satisfaction washed over him as he gazed upon his handiwork. The Jedi Order was no more, and the Republic, now the Empire, was his to rule. "The galaxy is mine," Palpatine whispered, a sinister smile spreading across his face. "And now, with the Jedi gone, there is no one who can stand in my way."